Welcome back to Comic Book Nation, the only show that does it all for geek culture and the official podcast of comicbook.com. I'm your host, Kofi Outlaw. And joining me today is the Comic Book Nation crew, Matthew Aguilar and Janelle Wheeler. What's up, guys?
Hi, hi.
What up?
And we've done it, guys. We've made it through half of 2024, and boy, howdy. Doesn't feel like a whole year already. We've packed in quite a few things, quite a few milestones. Janelle made a whole person in that time. Congratulations again, Janelle.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I mean, just half the year, we have really packed in some stuff. So, yeah. Now that we're halfway through the year, and a lot of other sites are running out of creativity this week, there's been a lot of half-year check-ins. So, I normally don't get on this bandwagon, but I thought, why not? I'm going on vacation tomorrow. Let's have a little fun. So today we will be doing our best of TV and or movie check-in, our top 3 of the year so far. And yeah, this should be a fun reveal. We don't know each other's picks, so we are going to get into that up front. After that, on the show today, we have to talk about some things that kind of popped off on the set of Superman this week that could tell us a lot. The Acolyte gave us another interesting chapter to think about. The Boys made us all kind of thirsty or never wanting to drink milk again. Plus, we got to check in with other things like House of the Dragon. There's a new Batman anime coming our way. And we're going to have a special guest joining us to talk about wrestling with Matt. So we are going to be doing it all for geek culture and doing the thing today. So let's get right up front. Happy 4th of July to everybody here in America. Shout out to all our international fans. We love you guys from Brazil to the UK to everywhere in between. Let's talk about the year in entertainment so far, 2024. Matt, Janelle, we've had, if anybody's been watching this or listening to this podcast all year, you probably know some of what we're going to say. Also, be sure to check out our other check-ins on our other segments like Anime Initiative, the poll list, where we just broke down some of the best comics of the year, gaming, I can't think of my brain. Quick Save just did a whole thing about the games of the year. So we're doing this all across the Comic Book Nation network. So be sure to check out all our other picks. But we are here on the live show to do TV and movies. And Janelle, you are, as always, our strong lead hitter, alphabetically speaking. So we, which is weird because I feel like every time we do first names, you're first. But if we do last names, you're last. And it's just
I've always been used to going last. So this is interesting.
Yeah. So we're going to go in the order of Janelle, myself, and then Matthew. So yeah, why don't you break down for you, what are the top 3 TV or movie pieces of content you've experienced this year so far?
Well, first of all, this year was surprising for me. Let me just start with that. Like, this is a very weird list for me. um, there's no Marvel or anything like that on here, and I'm actually really proud of that. And I was extremely surprised on all of these, except for Doctor Who, because I'm the biggest Who fan, you'll know. So, number one for me, this was like after pregnancy, delivery madness. I was trying to recover, and I could not find any kind of movie that was just like zone out but enjoyable and just like everybody can watch it. My mom, my husband, me, like Hitman. Okay, this was shocking for me. This was such a great movie. It was super intriguing. It was action packed. It was just well acted, well written. I loved this movie, and to the point where we're kind of like, hey, we should probably just watch that again. And we just watched it like 2 weeks ago. So that was number one for me. Number two, obviously Doctor Who. This new season, I'm so impressed with both the casting of Companion and Doctor in this. It's always scary whenever you're jumping from a new Doctor, or from like a Doctor you're familiar with in that lead role to a new face. And I have not been disappointed by this. I think that there's a lot of beautiful representation in this. I think there's a lot of heart in this season, and it's still fun and quirky and spacey and timey wimey. So Doctor Who this season was spectacular. My only complaint was the Christmas episode. So, and then number 3 is Fallout. You guys, I watched this through twice. I
That's
love the
amazing.
show. I will probably watch it again because every time I watch it, I see something new. And this has inspired me to try to play a shooter, even though I'm terrible at them. And yeah, just so fun, post-apocalyptic madness, heck of actors, like just crushing this. I think they made video game, live action content proud. Like they made us proud as gamers. We're not embarrassed of another like ruined video game franchise brought to the big screen. So really excited about this, really happy, and cannot wait for the next season. Honorable mention is the 3-body problem. I almost put this in instead of Hitman because I was just obsessed with it, but I think that's a me problem and not an everybody else problem. Like I am obsessed with this because of the type of content, the deep thinking that it forces out of you. If you are a believer in extraterrestrial life, like, there are people in the world that exist that do think that aliens are real. I'm one of those people, and this is so believable to me. This is not too far-fetched for me. And so it just really like struck a chord, and it got my brain going in really new, cool ways. And I love a different perspective. I love the heady stuff. I get really like geeked out on that kind of weird stuff that makes you think really hard about your existence in this black hole that we are calling like our universe and life, and why are we here? And I love that. I love these types of things that make your head spin a little bit. So yeah, that's me. I love them all.
Amazing. Great picks. And
Thanks.
Doctor Who is so oh, yeah, and on Doctor Who, there's I saw it in the comments actually, that we're not losing Rose right away.
Oh, good.
No, we're not losing. She's gonna make an appearance in season 2. So yeah, now she's still leaving, and they are gonna bring in a new companion. But I was very excited for that. I was like, okay, at least we get a little more.
Yeah,
we need great list.
we need that. We need
Great
All
list.
right. Yeah, and thanks, Matt, because I was muted, so Matt swung in there and did a nice save. That's a little behind the scenes. He's a pro. Thanks, Janelle. Yeah, that was a good list. I love that. I love reading you guys by your lists and like what's going on. And this was clearly you coming to the end of pregnancy and being like, put something on to distract my, please.
Take me out of the real world. Just nothing real except for
I remember those times. So no, but that was a great list, and I'm glad you had such great content at home. Like just when you needed it, it was there for you. Great list, Janelle. I'm up next, and in typical fashion, I've already kind of forgotten what my list was. So here's what my honorable mention was X-Men 97. Surprising. I didn't have any expectations for this show. For me, I grew up with X-Men, the animated series, but I'm also one of those people that's looked back and been like, this was such a 90s piece of content, and it's wild when you watch it back now. It doesn't hold up quite like Batman, the animated series. So I wasn't expecting much from X-Men 97. I thought it would just be like a nostalgia grab like so many people did. And yeah, Bo DeMaio and that team, what they did with that series, like made X-Men cooler in a mainstream way than I've seen X-Men be in decades. And it was so great to once again be in on like a water cooler style X-Men conversation, which are some of my favorites. It's what this podcast started on, was when the House of X happened. And that was also a really fun kind of time for that. But X-Men 97 was obviously more mainstream, accessible to a lot of people. It was more grown up as an animated series, and it made me believe in Marvel animation in a whole new way that I really just hadn't before compared to, say, like DC animation. This was the first real Marvel animation, like prestige, like piece of content that can stand up there with some of those DC animated greats. So yeah, honorable mention to X-Men 97 for coming out of nowhere and really surprising me. Number 3, of course, is Dune, my Dune. Dune 2 was that movie that, I saw Oppenheimer and IMAX, but this was like, this is cinema. We've been joking about some of these directors and talking about like Marvel content or superhero content and that. But Denis, and I'm so sorry because you guys, all my shout out to all my like Canadian fans, Montreal fans. You guys keep telling me how to pronounce Denis' name, and I keep messing up. Villeneuve, I think it is Villeneuve. Okay, anyway,
Sounds right
I
to
messed it up
me.
again.
That sounds
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
I probably
listen,
messed it
we're
up.
both
Nah,
American
I think I
too,
messed it
so
again. Yeah, no,
yeah.
I should be learning this, and I keep messing it up. But shout out to everybody who keeps trying to educate me. I love you guys, my Canadian fans. Yeah, but Dune 2 was that movie that we all went in and just were like, cinema, right? Like big IMAX screen, just movie experience, great performances, just great visuals, use the scope of cinema and sound and vibrate, like all of that to really make you feel like you went in and once again got your money's worth. And like that whole Nicole Kidman opening spiel really was kind of put, brought to life by Dune 2. We go to these theaters, to be transported away. Yeah, and shout out to everybody commenting over on YouTube. Yeah, I think we missed the thing with the Nolan Denny matchup. We might see next round of movies. We'll see what's going on with that. But yeah, Dune 2 was just that, and it gave us, one of our favorite memes of the year. Lisan Al Gaib. It's not forgotten. We're still out here doing it. And yeah, and just the kind of the commentary on fanaticism and the discourse it started. This is what we love. That's that sweet spot of big blockbuster spectacle that also makes us talk and think and debate and do all that stuff. Classic cinema, Dune 2. All right, next will be something again that I was surprised would make my list, but Bad Boys, Ride or Die, Bad Boys 4. This one, and it may be personal, but I have a lot of history with the Bad Boys franchise and going to see these films. And this one I went to see in IMAX with my brother and my father. And, again, just that experience of movies. This isn't cinema in the same way as Dune, obviously, but this is like B movies, and like what we also go to the movies for is just like that comedy, action, B movie enjoyment. And it was really just reinvigorating to see some of these older kind of aging franchises that we don't let go of, now and keep doing sequels for, and to have one show us that like, yeah, there's still magic in this and we can still make something really great and use the fact that we're getting older and do that whole thing in a way, which happens in another movie we'll probably discuss today a little bit. But this was still the best of it. Martin was back on his game. The way they kind of took all the Will Smith stuff and spun it into kind of a interesting storyline about his character and dealing with the ramifications of all that was really well done. And just one of the greatest kind of just franchise follow-ups I've seen in a while. We got Justice for Reggie, and one of the greatest endings to a movie I've ever seen in my life. And it just was a crowd pleaser. Like, I think that's so important in movies. This was a crowd pleaser. Even when I go to screenings, I still pop in to a couple Bad Boy screenings when they're in progress just to see people. And like, I just watch for like 10 minutes to see like the crowd. I'm not even watching the movie again, and just see people still like reacting and cracking up and like seriously like slapping their knee or like the Reggie sequence to see people getting up and like cheering. And crowd pleasing movies are really important. So it was really good. And to see Bad Boys do that and make me feel the same magic of a franchise that I enjoyed so many, decades ago now was great. All right. And number one should be no surprise to anybody listening to this podcast that my number one piece of content for the year was Shogun. A book that really changed me when I read it, became a TV series that changed things for so many people now. And it was so good to see this piece of prestige content come out of like the Disney Hulu camp, and just the scale and the level of artistry put into this series was nuts. This was the first, like, everybody's been slapping on that, the next Game of Thrones sticker since Game of Thrones went off the air. But this was like the first time I've been like, no, this kind of lives up to it. And, the Shogun's going to continue. The future is going to keep going with this series, but I will always hold this direct adaptation of the book to be like one of the most perfect blocks of content you can watch from start to finish. And like every episode, both just thematically, character wise, and just kind of what they did with the Japanese culture and all of that, man, stunning stuff. And it's the one thing that I will ridicule you about if you haven't seen this year. I'm like, what, you ain't seen Shogun? You ain't seen Shogun? You need to go out and watch Shogun. Like, what are you doing? You're like, what are we doing? Come on. So those are my top 3 picks. Matt, take it away and close us out on
Kofi,
this.
can I just say this was pretty much my list initially. Legit, I had X-Men, Dune, and Shogun, and then I started thinking, and I went, I feel like Kofi's gonna choose all of these, so I changed it on purpose.
Wow. Well, that's good to know. See, but like,
Because I wanted representation for more than just, but like,
no, that's
legit.
good.
Dude,
But
Shogun,
Yeah,
and
there are
X-Men.
two choices on my list that there were other things slotted there, and I did go like it did actually factor in a little of like, okay, so this one's probably gonna be, and I really love this, but like I will say just from these 2 so far and mine coming up, these couldn't be better depictions of who we are as movie and TV watchers. So let's pull up mine on the screen. Because there's not a more Matt list than this. All right.
Wow.
Just not.
Wow.
Just not.
If you are not, see, this is why you got to watch the live show for moments like this, when this reveals like this. Because if you're listening, you're missing the impact of looking and staring at this Rorschach blot of Matt's psychology that we're all looking at right now. But take it away, buddy.
So my honorable mention is Knuckles, because I wanted some rep for that. It was so fun, so delightful. We're such a Sonic household now, and so like it's I've watched that show, I'm not kidding, through 3 times. We have watched that show 3 times through. The kiddo still likes it. I still enjoy it. Me and Ember watching it for like the 2nd time through, got Anissa into it, and she finished the whole show and then went back to complete it. Like it has continued to like bring the Sonic universe in, and it's just so wonderful to see. And I love that character so much. So I enjoyed it. This was just fun. It's just great TV. Number 3, everyone knows that like I'm a huge Law and Order fan, and for the last like season and a half, Organized Crime has actually been my favorite show of the 3 shows, because it's just been so fantastic. It's not anything against SVU, which is my favorite all-time show, but like it's just been so good. But this season, starting from January, because that's kind of how I measured this, right? I kind of cut seasons off. Like if it was a great first half, but the second half kind of dimmed, I knocked that for it. So this one had a fantastic second half, a fantastic season finale, and leading into it. SVU has just been kicking so much in the last couple months before it took its hiatus. So I am very excited for what's coming up. And then to echo Janelle, Fallout was one of those shows that could have gone so horribly wrong. We could easily be sitting here talking about how it was a failed, expensive experiment, and taking this very beloved but also broad franchise, because there's so many things you could do with that. You could follow the game stories, you could do all kinds of things, and you could mess it up. And so with so much writing against it, I just love that it not only like came out and delivered like a really good show, but like it knocked it out of the park. Like there are characters now that you're gonna see start to make their way. There was already like Fallout 76 already has you being able to play ghouls now, right? Like that yes, that was already in the works and stuff, I'm sure, to line up with things, but like people are excited about that. Why are they excited? Because they're excited partially because of the job that Coggins did on this show. Like, so it's already starting to affect the game universe, and that's awesome to see. And this is another one. I judge a lot of things in movies and TVs by how many times, like, their rewatchability. I will rewatch a Law and Order episode like 10 times after I've seen it. Whatever, it's fine. Fallout, I've gone back and rewatched. Those are great episodes, and I seem to find something new every time I go watch them. And it's just really impressive what they did, creating a group of interesting, likable characters in kind of the wasteland is awesome to see. And then finally, number 1, X-Men 97. I'm with Kofi. Like, I did not think it would be this good, and I wanted it to be this good. And so it wasn't for any lack of hype. It was just like, I don't know if, is it going to nail that balance? It's got to capture the nostalgia, but it needs to be modern. It needs to be, sleek and boy, like, my God, every week this was appointment viewing. When this was releasing, this became the most anticipated show I watched that week, every single time. And it rarely disappointed me. I think the one episode I can probably look at that kind of disappointed me the most was probably the Xavier Lalandra stuff, when that kind of just took that weird stopgap in space, but like, we needed it. But still, it was just like, that was the one critique I can like lob at this show. And like, it did my boy right. Cyclops like came out looking fantastic, but layered and like as a character, and they did so many characters right. The Gambit stuff, like, you can look at so many things in the season, and just also the complexity of the storylines they were taking on and how they streamlined it and fit it into 30 minutes. Still don't know how they did that with some of these things that Fox couldn't do a 2-hour movie and get it right. They got right in 30 minutes. That's something impressive. So I just, I cannot wait for season 2. X-Men is one of my favorite properties ever. And so it's just nice to see them being back on the pedestal where they belong. So that is my top 3/top 4. Hey, you leave him be, okay?
You broke
Cyclops is right.
You broke the comments with SVU. I think a lot of people were pretty angry that you didn't have Bluey the sign up there, which was a comment.
It's also that's a great Bluey's fantastic.
Yeah,
Bluey's fantastic. There are so many things.
SVU, this is Comic Book Nation over Bluey. I can't believe it.
Yeah,
but
you got it, man.
Anybody who knows you
got to represent.
Should not be surprised. All right. So there you go. Those are our best of movies and TV of the year so far. You all should now know who your favorite host is and put your chips behind that person for the rest of the year. So who do you got? Is it me? Is it Janelle? Is it Matt? Based, you just got the audition tapes. You tell us. All right, let's move. Yeah, no, some people are going to be behind you. You get like a crazy loyal following. Some people just want to troll us. And
I got the biggest reaction. People didn't like the 3-body problem, so I'm on my own with that one.
Oh man, you're not on your own. Like a lot of people, maybe it's a tough crowd here. I mean, I know I'm good, and I know I'm picking the favorites because the people love me. But that's just
if
me.
Anissa has her way, I'm gonna have the bear on my list later this year because she keeps pressuring me to watch the bear. She's
Everybody's
like, you gotta
trying to
watch
get me
the
to
bear.
do that too. Yep.
Everybody's season 3's causing some ripples. We'll see, man. It's hot out here. There's been some blow ups everywhere I've gone about the bear, but we're gonna keep it pushing right now. I went out of order, so let me go back ahead and get what I was supposed to start the show with, which was my review of the end of Ty West's epic horror trilogy that started with X, then moved to the prequel Pearl, and now finishes up with Maxxxine with the triple X's. Maxxxine is like I said, it's the end of this whole trilogy that horror director Ty West has made, and it stars Mia Goth, who is waiting in limbo along with Mahershala Ali for that Marvel Blade movie, and it's about her kind of continuing story after the movie X, which came out in 2022. So here's what I will say. I will say that I actually would give Maxxxine 3.5 or 4 out of 5 stars. I think that this is probably the least horror entry in this whole thing. X was a classic kind of slasher film about these group of people filming an adult film on a farm with this old lady who goes nuts and murders them all with her husband, and except for the surviving one, Maxxxine, obviously, Mia Goth. And Mia Goth played both the old lady and Maxxxine, which was, crazy. Then the prequel Pearl was all about that crazy killer old lady and how she had grown up on this farm all her life and wanted to go to Hollywood and be a star and never got that chance because of her kind of really conservative parents and upbringing. And, she flipped out and started and killed a bunch of people too. And that's, because she was nuts. And that's why she could never really go off to Hollywood. She believed that she was being held up. She was really crazy. And so this one is about what happens after Maxxxine gets away from that whole horrible killing of her film, her adult film crew and all that. And she goes to Hollywood and she's become an adult film star, and now she wants to become a legit actor. So this movie is really a parody, kind of a funny horror slasher parody and meta commentary about Hollywood in the same way like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is with Quentin Tarantino. In that sense, I found this to be really enjoyable, really funny, and kind of smart. It doesn't take itself too seriously. If you've seen the scenes with Kevin Bacon, who plays this kind of scummy private eye who's following, after Maxxxine and has leverage over her about the past, when they make smart use because X was found footage. It was a videotape found that kind of told people what the murders were. And then that comes back in this one. Anyway, this is a great thing about Hollywood, about being a woman in Hollywood. And if these are all commentaries about fame, X is about kind of the roads you'll take to get famous, even through things like adult films. Pearl was about the delusions that people can have about being great or stars and being famous when really they're not at all qualified to do those things. And Maxxine's about when you have fame, what do you have to do in Hollywood to hold on to it? It's particularly if you're like a woman. And in that sense, it's really, really well done. And there's a great cast. Mia Goth is an effing star, if you get that reference. But now in this trilogy, she's got a whole career ahead of her. Elizabeth Debicki, who's been in things like Tenet and a bunch of other stuff in The Crown, playing Princess Diana in The Crown, is awesome in this as this hardcore female director trying to make a sequel to this film that's in the universe called The Puritan, which gets all this controversy because it uses this biblical imagery in this horror film. Anyway, and there's other people. Lily Collins shows up, Michelle Monaghan, Bobby Cannavale, Halsey, Giancarlo Esposito, our boy from Breaking Bad, is hilarious as Maxxine's agent, a guy who will literally do anything and has been all around Hollywood, and nothing phases him, no matter how horrible it is. And Kevin Bacon as a crazy investigator. So this is getting kind of called the weakest of the trilogy, but like I said, in terms of a meta movie about post Me Too in Hollywood and women and what they're doing and what you have to do to kind of navigate this space, it's really funny. And so this as a trilogy is really good. And Ty West, Mia Goth, everybody involved deserve all the fame they get from it. So if you are a fan of it, I suggest checking it out. I got to do it at Nashville's excellent Belcourt Theater in 35 millimeter film, which really captures that 80s kind of vibe to it. So I suggest doing that because this is for you horror, cinema, movie heads. Go check it out in 35 if you can. And enjoy and rewatch the whole Pearl trilogy. Go for it. All right, so that's the end of that. And I know that didn't sound enthusiastic, but I mean,
it looks really cool. You shared the trailer and I was like, dang, this is a really cool perspective. I love that it's set in the 70s ish and I don't know, the bouncing back between characters.
It's 82 because
it's 82.
The last film. Yeah, the first one's in the 50s or 60s. Then
I mean,
X is in the 70s.
Spillover. 82.
Oh no, 82 means you were still. Yeah, no decade really locks in until the 5 year. Totally. Until then, you're just on scant ideas about what the 80s should be and fumes of the 70s, and that's what this is. And there's a whole thing about the Night Stalker.
But it looks really good. It looks. I would definitely watch this, and I'm not a horror fan, so
yeah, same. I kind of want to check out the first one now. I want to check out the trilogy because I've heard a lot of good things about it too. So yeah, okay.
Yeah, well, people got put off obviously because X was called X and it's about adult films and stuff, but none of it. It's not that gratuitous at all. It's Scott Miscuddy. There's a lot of good actors. Mia Goth, Scott Miscuddy, Jenna Ortega's in it. And it's just about that. Yeah, and so it's more just kind of playing with that exploitative space, but just people got all concerned that it was going to be a porn flick or something. No, it's just called X. So check it out. Yeah, and Pearl is just one of the best horror character studies that really showed me a goth. If you've never seen the end credits of Pearl, go watch it. There's no spoiler. The whole end credits is still her face on screen trying to smile as after all this crazy stuff had happened, and it's for the entire end credits. It never cuts, it never breaks. She's just staring and smiling and trying to hold this smile for 6 or 7 minutes. It's insane. Anyway, that's a great thing. That's Ty West, one of my favorite horror directors of this time, and to come out of that whole VHS anthology group with Radio Silence, who did you know, who just did the Scream movies and Annabelle and Joe Dante and all them. So yeah, check that out. All right, let's get back to something we can all talk about together. Janelle, there's something going on the
Yeah.
DC front. Why don't you tell people about it?
Well, there's a lot of information here for casual fans, such as myself. So I'm going to need the experts to weigh in on this. But Superman, guys, like this is happening. They have already been filming. They are in Cleveland, Ohio. James Gunn is doing his dang thing. All these set photos have been leaked, or I guess maybe released. Who knows? Sometimes you don't know like how things come out. But I just saw them, and I will tell you one thing, I'm really hyped. Like, everything looks really exciting. Like, we're seeing, like, the rigs of them hanging, so you can see, like, their movement, like, they're flying, and the costumes to me look really, really cool, so that's kind of what we're discussing. The new hero costumes could have a deeper meaning is what this beautiful article is saying by Jenna Anderson. And I feel like this is where we need our like comic book geek experts to kind of really
Kick
tell us.
in the can.
Yeah, you guys need to tell me what all of this means because I am like I read this whole article and I'm like what I'm taking from this is there were some logos on costumes or something that are making people like freak out and not sure what it all means. And then we also have like a glimpse at the engineer costume with her, Maria Gabriela de Faria. I hope I'm saying that right. She is like, she shared her engineer costume and spoke candidly about how heavy and hot it is and how they have to literally like push her into it and how much of a struggle it is, but she loves the struggle. So, with all that being said, what do all of these what is the bottom line, guys? Like what are we happy about these
You are
costumes?
you're so lucky we got a Matt.
Thank God, because I mean seriously, it's a lot of information and
No, it's all good. No, we
props
want
to Jenna because she like dove in on this article, but it is a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, and by the way, our own comic book nation, Peter. Yes, a lot of the photos do look like they're set. Speaking of like the 80s and 70s, there is a vintage look to it. So one thing, and that immediately stuck out, and everyone knows I'm a huge Green Lantern fan, right? So obviously I have a comment on Guy Gardner's look because the bowl haircut's there, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
I gotta say, bowl haircut number one. But the look of some of the costumes, like we got to look at Hawk Girl, we got to look at Mr. Terrific, and Mr. Terrific looks well terrific. Really, he looks straight out of the comics. I couldn't avoid it. I couldn't let that go. I couldn't let it go.
So
But Guy Gardner has been eliciting the most conversation because it's a pretty big kind of not really a departure in style, but a departure in colors, a departure in the fact that like most Green Lanterns, their suits are constructs, and so they create them themselves. So obviously CGI comes in there. Granted, we've seen what unchecked CGI can do to that in the last Green Lantern movie, so there always needs to be caution there. But we've kind of this whole matching uniforms thing very much looks to be tied to for fans of the JLI, the Justice League International in the comics. Maxwell Lord was funding that group. They were essentially Max's Justice League. Okay. And so several of these heroes were included in that. At the time, they didn't have matching suits. There was no unified look. But here it looks like we are getting like the Lord logo can be seen on both costumes. There is kind of a general, that white and silver look across all of them. So it does feel more like a corporation funded team than the comics ever did. So that is, and especially we already know Sean Gunn is playing Maxwell Lord anyway. So like all of that stuff is starting to factor in of like his presence in the movie, his effect on things. Jenna actually makes a really good point in here about the contrast between this kind of corporate funded superhero, agency, and then also someone like Superman or, Batman or any of these other people who are kind of more branded. Superman, not so much, but Batman and some of the others branded as vigilantes. They're out doing their own thing. There's no way to really check them because they're not part of anything. So that's kind of the early things we're getting here. The time thing is interesting because they do, like, I know some people are kind of making comparisons about, Guardians of the Galaxy and Marvel uses costumes that are kind of more in line with this, right? Than some of the previous DC costumes we've seen in movies. I think that's just partially a Gunn thing and coming from that ecosystem. But we've seen him also do costumes that are, I don't know, I feel like he tends to be more practical in his costumes if you look at his Suicide Squad and stuff, and he still gets the kind of weird, eccentric looks out of them while still kind of basing them in that. So I don't think I've seen some CW comparisons, and I think those are going too far. I think those are too far, especially from grainy set photos we saw from a drone or whatever from the top. Let's ease up a little bit. But the JLI thing is the big one. This does though have a vintage quality, so I am kind of curious as to like when it takes place, that kind of thing, especially going along with some of the set photos we've seen of Superman's costume more and more, and when all of that is fixtured. So and then the engineer stuff, so I haven't actually seen the costume yet. I haven't seen any photos of the costume lurking around yet, but the description is funny because, like, if you look at the suit in the books, it is kind of like this nanite, very like Jocasta silver, look, very armored. It can kind of form whatever she wants it to be. So that is interesting to see, like, how they're going for that. I will be curious to see where that goes. So yeah, so that is the most of the discussion around this. And we've also seen a bunch of discussion around the Superman suit as well. But I trust Gunn. So I trust Gunn until I see a trailer or some actual press shots and things. I'm going to kind of be like holding out for judgment. Aha, here we go. Thank you, Kofi. So that's the actual suit. Okay.
Yeah, oh, sorry.
Okay, so I'm watching that in real. I'm looking at that in real time.
Yeah, sorry. I was sending Matt and Janelle links to some of the photos.
Oh, thank you. Oh,
yeah. So yeah, that's the engineer suit.
yes.
And if you guys haven't seen the other ones, I'll show you.
No,
that.
I've seen the other ones already.
Okay, you've seen the other ones. Good. Yeah, let's talk about. So yeah, time period has never been defined, but I've always felt like Gunn is trying and attempting to do this kind of bring the animated series universe to life almost. And the trick that Batman the animated series and Superman in the animated series pulled off was this kind of weird timelessness bubble where there were elements that were very like 1950s vintage, but also stuff that was still modern and things like that, and you could never really tell like what time period it was set in. I get that that's harder for a live action movie, but I think they're going for that kind of aesthetic in this world, that it is going to be a little bit more hyper real and kind of, like I said, this thing where I'm trying to think of an equivalent, like Tomorrowland-ish, you know what I mean? Like this kind of vintage but advanced, or even like Fallout did a great job of mixing that aesthetic. So let's pull for something more recent, like where it was a future, but a future based on this kitschy 1950s throwback past. So that's a hard thing to pull off, but I think for this DCU, it's very important that you establish this consistent tone for this universe in the way that like Marvel did, right? Like Marvel pulled off this kind of fantastical superhero thing laid over a real world context, which has tons of holes in it, but like they were smart about kind of getting around all that and not focusing too much on that. Just enough. Like we had Tony Stark in a congressional hearing about the Iron Man armor, but we don't really go too much into government stuff that deeply. You know what I mean? So I think if they can pull that off with this will be very good to knock out, because this movie is going to be doing like 5 things at once. So
right.
I don't mind seeing this aesthetic, because I'm like, bro, this is not like the same as the Snyderverse. They're not going for the edgy, like realistic kind of thing. This is going to be more fantastical, whimsical, kind of universal tone about it. So these costumes are fine with me because it's how they look on camera. It's not like how do they look in real life. That camera and real life are completely different things.
So different.
Like guys, am I wearing a full-fledged pinch? Am I sitting here in my underwear? You don't know. You'll never care because this is all you're going to see of me. So I'm wearing shorts, guys. Anyway, the point is, like, camera dress and real dress
Yeah.
are not the things. But I'm thinking, like, if I'm thinking movies I
Especially
would
with
use for
James
this,
Gunn.
yeah, it's like The
Yeah.
Rocketeer, Chris Chipperson. Shout out to Chris Chipperson, longtime fan. Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow is another
Yeah.
great reference. It's that kind of stuff that I would expect to see here. Yeah, and the Justice League International stuff is great because, yeah, it kind of sets up this interesting idea. People have pointed out there's been kind of speculation that along with this engineer suit that the Authority will be working for the government. Um, Justice League International will be privately owned by Maxwell Lord. And then you'll have heroes like Superman and Batman who are just like, yeah, we don't answer to anybody. Like, we're not doing that. And they kind of operate and they do what they think is for the, the greater good, independent of these agencies and trying to stay above it. And of course, Superman's the one person who's going to be, the bidding war, essentially, like everybody saying, no, you need to work for us. You need to work for us for these reasons. And Superman having to kind of maintain through that and find his own moral compass without being a dictator, without freaking the world out and doing all that is kind of thematically what this movie would have to do to kind of comment on this character and where does he belong in this world, right? Meaning our world, like specifically our world. So I can see the vision in this taking shape. So I'm not like freaking out about set photos. Shout out to Brywood. Like, I try not to look at these things. This came up. I mean, it has to get to a certain level before it even gets on my radar. And this obviously did because people were going nuts. Like, it's all over. Wizard Proof Gun blew it. Oh my God, Wizard's going down in flames. And there's been, even from sources I would trust, there's been so much negativity about the Superman suit and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to wait and see because, yeah, this could be kind of return to Donner, that whole Donner vibe that I would love. So I'm not going to count it out yet. But I think it's hilarious that Guy Gardner looks like a douche. Do we want that? And that he looks kind of funny. And when they cast Nathan Fillion, I didn't expect anything different. Like him being goofy.
No, that's
and
the
like,
point.
yeah, exactly. And I like Mr. Terrific and I like Hawkgirl and like all that stuff. And yeah, this all looks funny. But guys, you gotta like pick and choose your battles. You can't say, I'm tired of Gunn making a video game and sticking humans in the middle of it. And he did that all on sound stages over there in Europe. If you want to see this naturalistic and kind of, or Snyder, I'm sorry. And if you want to see this natural, like more realistic vibe to these movies, they got to film outside and they got to do this stuff. And it does look silly. Okay. Like, it looks silly. I'm sorry. There's no way dressing up in superhero costumes as an actor and running around on cables and pretending to fly doesn't look silly. So, take what you want. If you want to look. And if you don't.
That's such a good point, by the way. That's such a
Yeah.
great point because, like, I think with Marvel, they were so good about keeping that stuff locked down in the studio, and it obviously led to things like, oh, it looks like it's on green screen or whatever, right? It led to those criticisms, but like they did such a good of capping that stuff until like the featurettes and things, and they'd show you, but because you'd seen the finished product before you saw, oh, the dude with the tennis ball and it's following around, it looks ridiculous, but you'd already seen the finished product when you saw that. And it's such a good point of like, no, this is how it looks. They all look this way. Some of your favorite movies look this way before they ever get to that point, So it's like, I get it. It's a really good point.
Yeah, if we're gonna do natural and making things quote unquote realistic and non-CGI, we got to get outside and we got to look a little silly. That's the magic of movies, taking this silly ass stuff and making it look awesome and making you believe that a guy jumping on some cables can fly. That's the magic of movies. So pick and choose. Which way do you want? How do you want it? How does it feel? All right. Let's run through some TV because, I mean, we getting up there in time. I didn't think we'd be getting this deep on some of this other stuff. Yeah, a little Tupac for you. A little Tupac in your Superman. If I would love a Superman. See, what if Superman just turns on some Tupac and just starts, like when nobody's watching and just starts like Tom Cruise, Tropic Thunder vibe, and that'd be amazing. All right. Let's talk about the Acolyte this week. So we got a Star Wars Parent Trap, and we're not going to go too deep because we do Acolyte Aftermath right after the show airs, and a lot of you have been tuning into that. And yeah, thank you for tuning in to Acolyte Aftermath. But we did have a Parent Trap episode this week, and who better to talk Parent Trap with than my two co-hosts, Janelle and Matthew Aguilar. So just real quick, guys, what did you thought besides thirsting over Camille some more? What did you guys think of this episode?
Who doggy? Yeah, that was pretty much it. Just the thirst. No, it was cool. Obviously, like, I don't think any episode's going to be able to live up to the one prior to this because the action was just ballin'. Like the fight sequences, it was basically an entire episode of fighting, and battles and death and bugs, and it was just really such a spectacle. So this one is a little bit slower. It's more about like relationships and, these characters and how, what has transpired with them switching spots. And, who knows, like people possibly getting converted to other sides or whatever. We don't know. It's obviously very intriguing, but it's not as impactful as the last episode. The last episode was crazy, the previous one. So I enjoyed it. It's still a heck of a show. This is great. They're moving the story along. I'm understanding, picking up what they're putting down. Super intrigued the entire time, but it wasn't my favorite episode. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. I thought it was good acting wise. I thought this was the one where they let the actors really cook. Like Amanda Stenberg. They had to do like all kinds of crazy acting on both sides of this. We got to see Lee Jung-jae kind of really get deep with Saul and just facial expressions. And obviously Manny Jacinto as Camille. This was his whole like dark side seduction taken quite literally in this one.
He's stealing the show in
good,
so
yeah.
many ways. Yeah, like, and I agree with you. I think the stuff with him and Osha is like some of the most interesting stuff, like their conversations and his like worming his way into her brain, kind of like, look at this, like this is, like, and the fact also that we talked about this last week, but like that everyone knows that they're not who they say they are, right? By the end of the episode, like it's kind of like, okay, cool. I don't have to just like go on suspending, disbelief. Like there is that, right? You kind of get the feeling of that, and then finally Soul just like comes out and says it, right? And it's like, oh, okay, good. Good deal. I couldn't live with you not being able to see that. So yeah, good episode.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and my Vernestra Row theories are looking more and more credible. It's looking more and more credible by the minute. Like your boy was on to something. Don't say why. This is just why they put me in position here. But yeah, no, I thought it was interesting. I mean, Parent Trap episodes can go so wrong, but it was interesting to see the sisters literally walking and meeting each other's masters and kind of seeing, what the other sister had in front of her and all that kind of stuff. And shout out to the Star Wars fans. Star Wars being a thirsty little horny show it's been a long time. Star Wars can be very asexual. And when it does get any kind of horny, it's usually weird. It's usually like a girl who used to babysit a little kid coming back and hooking up with him or hooking up with somebody's sister. And, it gets weird like that.
Very Game of Thrones.
Yeah. This is the first time it's just been straight up thirst, like in Ocean and Camille, everybody's like, you all just gotta get it in like already. Like, don't leave that cave until you work this out. Like,
man, Kobe, I want to come on this show right after and chat with you one time, just once, and get you like
the finale. I'm off next week, but they need somebody, and the finale episode we can all hop on and do that if you guys want to do it.
Definitely down. I'm so down because this has become one of my highlights of the week. This is the only show that Max and I, or my husband and I, like wait to watch together and like really love it.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
I'm in. I'll be here. All right, let's go flip over real quick before we take a break and just talk about, man, I ask every week, can the boys be too much? And this week was yet another installment. I like these episodes, each bottling, giving us a good boys experience every week. But overall, this season and the arc of it, I feel like this is like a weird season that's just setting up the final season. And this episode kind of really confirmed that for me because we don't have that many episodes left to go. I think we have 2 or 3. And it just feels like, even with a twist, all we're doing is going to get character resolution for this season that sets up the actual final propulsion towards the big showdown in the end of the show. But Highlights of this episode, because they pack a lot into each one. Of course, we got, the boys' version of Spider-Man, the boys' version of Batman. We finally got to really dig into. Both of those were way worse than I ever could have thought. And it was a party episode, which is, of course, we talk about all the time. And storytelling is a very hard thing because you're bringing together a collection of characters, a collection of motivations, grievances, conflicts, all that stuff, all contained within a setting where there's decorum and rules, and things can only be expressed so much. Like, people don't have outright fights in the party unless it's the bear. It's more like, you're at parties where everybody's trying to smile and be fun, but there's all this, shade and all these other things that happen. And even though nothing visibly like explicitly violent or conflict happens to you, you still can walk away from parties with things very much changed in your relationship and friendships, or like whatever that night was. This was not that. There was a lot of conflict and violence. And some depravity. But yeah, the boys constantly, it's just like, and shout out this episode, because after everything that happened in Tech Knight's cave, I was like, oh boy, at least we've gotten to the limits of this. And then, we had that firecracker Homelander scene, and that's now an instant meme that has gone viral already. What did you guys think? I'm sorry that we keep doing this to you, Janelle. I feel like we're just psychologically battering you with all kinds of weird stuff as you are just trying to become a new mom.
Yeah, this is my do not watch while feeding the baby show.
Oh, no.
Like, this is my
Yep.
I have time. I have 20 minutes here and there to take a shower. So I'm bringing my phone with me and watching it in the shower away from baby and even
Smart.
husband, because it's a little intense. But I'm not even mad at it because I know what it is, right? Like, I know what the boys is. I know what I'm asking for. This is my reprieve from wholesome stuff that I listen to podcasts all day when I'm around the baby and try not to make loud noises. This is my go all out. Like, I feel like this is like my version of going to get a pedicure. Like, it's just a complete departure from baby life and back to the old school Janelle before she had a kid whenever I watch this. And that's okay. Like, I'm not mad at it. I agree with you about how this does feel like it sets up, like it's setting up the next season. I don't really know the whole point. Like, what is the point of all of this? Like, there's like little points, but there's not like a huge, like, impactful, like, thing that we're working towards. Unless they were, maybe they'll reveal it soon. But I like it. I still love the show. I still love it. But I will say this, because obviously we've recapped the show, and if you're watching, if I didn't have the podcast, if I wasn't like, hey guys, this is required reading, I probably would have fallen off by now, which is pretty interesting for me because I love my TV, but it's a little like daunting to take on the boys, and I can't watch it in front of I can't watch it with anyone or in front. Like, my mother-in-law was visiting, and I was like, I need to watch this show
Nope.
for my podcast, and I tried to turn it on, and I was like, she's like, are those exploding chickens from last week? And I went, okay, we're just gonna I'll just watch this when I take a shower. So again, it's become my shower show.
Oh, thank God she didn't see the web weaver scene. That would have.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Put that on a shirt.
This
Are
is
those
a
exploding
Catholic
chickens?
woman. Like, oh my God.
Oh,
yeah, no, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Matt.
I agree. I agree with Janelle wholeheartedly. I think in another place, like if it wasn't something that is a continual, like, popular show that's kind of in our realm, I might have fallen off. And especially with this season, which the closer we get to the end does really feel like part one of a season. And then 5, what I imagine, what it looks to be happening is like, and whatever, in the finale of this one, some big shake up, changing thing happens, and you go, all right, here's the foundation for the final season, and then we get all of that momentum in the final season. But so like in that case, it really does feel like part 1 and part 2, it is starting to have that. And you're gonna get, when you have an entire season dedicated to setup, you're gonna get, there have been some memorable moments, but I'm saying just overall, and like the story, the overall story and stuff, we're kind of spinning wheels. We are staying in place a lot. With character arcs and relationships, it's moving. And so those are paying off. But over the course of an entire season, it really does feel like that. And you've kind of mentioned, like, it kind of feels like a string of vignettes. And then season 5, we'll have the table set and we can just hit the ground running with this kind of big booming overall narrative. So I could very well see myself have falling off in this season. If this wasn't just part of the regular rotation. So,
wow. All right, there you have it. All right, the boys. I still turn it on because I know I'm going to be on a roller coaster ride, but I'm like Janelle. This is what I put on like late night when I'm sitting upstairs and I put the family to bed, and I'm like, all right, I need something that's going to keep me awake and not put me out.
Oh yeah, you won't fall asleep in this.
No, House of the Dragon and all those shows I love. I mean, still, like when I'm watching A Quiet Conversation in Harrenhal, like I did pass out. Like no shade to anybody on House of Dragon, but yeah, there's something every 5 minutes on this that it's like I don't want to fall asleep right now because I don't want this to be the springboard to my dreams right now. Yeah, so you got to stay awake to the end.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and I watch every week because Anthony Starr is just phenomenal on this show. I mean, he's cooking better than ever, and actors can get really, they get settled in after so many seasons and they can just start phoning it in. But this guy is bringing the energy every week, and it is crazy good. And yeah, when that milk hit that man's face, the look on his face was just, it was insane, and rightly so, is already like a popular gif because just phenomenal. So yeah, I'm enjoying it still. And when it comes on, and I told you all about Joe, I told you, don't try to Fight Club me. Like, I'm a Fight Club expert. You try to pull that Shyamalan crap on me, like I'm going to be all over it from day one. So yeah, Grand Admiral Hawk Tua, Star Wars sucks. If that just doesn't sum up the last month of popular culture in a nutshell,
the username, it's great.
Just the whole expression of everything, perfectly done. If you're not a parody account, take a second look in the mirror. You should be a parody, because that is just so much at once. Man. Oh my god. Oh, anyway, so we're going to take a break, but when we come back, we got a lot more show to still get through. We're going to talk about a new movie that's out, the Legacy sequel that I forgot to put in the rundown. We're going to touch on a little bit of what's going on with House of the Dragon, talk about a Batman anime. Then Matt has some wrestling to close out the show, so stay tuned. Welcome back to Comic Book Nation. We are, I don't know why I keep saying welcome back. Like when you listen to this in audio, it doesn't make any sense. But all right, let's go to the next subject. Let's just quickly talk about the new Axel F. Did you guys get a chance to watch this, Matt, Janelle?
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, everybody.
Okay, Beverly Hills Cop. Yeah, Axel F. So this is another one of these legacy sequels, and Eddie Murphy coming back to the Axel Foley Beverly Hills Cop role. And yeah, let's just quickly get into it. I like Eddie Murphy, and like I think he's funny, and me and Matt have not hated some of these kind of return to direct sequels that he's done, like Coming to America 2, and what was the other one that we did? My brain's going. My brain's seriously
Um,
going.
oh my God.
Was it just Coming to America? I feel like we did another one.
It was just Coming to America, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is it. And then Beverly Hills Cop is the next one that we're doing. And I thought this movie was all right. I thought it was a good Netflix release. Like, I think Eddie Murphy this is a Beverly Hills Cop movie. I rewatched all the other ones. This is beat for beat kind of what you get in a Beverly Hill Cop movie, with obviously we're older jokes. And I thought it was good. I thought it was entertaining as a Netflix release. It was about that size in terms of spectacle and whatnot. But it was good to see again. Kevin Bacon's just getting paid everywhere, which is crazy. And it was just to see Joseph Gordon-Levitt, the actress who plays Foley's daughter, and just the returning like Judd Reinhold, and seeing some of those old people come back. It was good. It was fun. It was like a fun little thing, and it was great for a holiday release on July 4th when I didn't have to take any of this too seriously. But I also enjoy the Beverly Hills Cop movies, and so, it was easy to win me over. Oh, and Surge! We got Surge again. Yeah. What did you guys think?
I really enjoyed this. I thought it was just easy to watch. I liked like the comedic little like hits that they had. Yeah, the action was good. Like it was a great Netflix movie. Some of them are poorly done. This one was not. There were moments of like, oh my gosh, is that really happening? Like when his daughter like got kicked out of the parking garage in her car. And I think it started off really well and they closed. It's just a good, I don't know. It's good. It's just a fun, good streaming movie. Would I have seen this in the theater? Absolutely not. But I really enjoyed streaming it at home for sure.
Yeah. No, I think you hit it on the nail as far as like for me, like the fact that it's on a streaming platform, it is perfect for that format. I just think just like Coming to America, I think that's why I go in and I don't grade these as harshly as if I had to, yeah, and I get it. They're not
Like
free.
they know what
You
they
have
are.
to pay for the service. Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to pay for the service. I get it.
Yeah.
It's not like it's on Tubi. I understand, but like still like I understand because I don't ever want it to come across like you don't got to pay anything for it. Like yes, you do, but the payment of the value of what you're getting for that amount of money, and this is one of many things to watch. And when this hits, it felt big budget enough, right? It felt like the production values are there. Eddie Murphy, if you're into his type of banter and comedy, I think you're gonna find something to really enjoy here. It's a perfect what am I looking for to watch type of movie. And then you watch it and you feel like, oh, that was satisfying and cool. Will I rewatch it again ever? I don't know, maybe, probably not. But like I enjoyed it. So I think it's perfect for a streaming platform like this, just like Coming to America was. If it was hitting a theater, there's no chance in hell I would see it because I'm looking not because of even anything to do with the quality and stuff. It's just the things that are out there currently that I want to see and still haven't seen yet would push this way down the list. And I would end up seeing it in streaming 6 months later anyway. So that's kind of how this movie fits. So it's perfect. You get a nice, momentum swing when it hits and good for it. So yeah, I mean, I'm good with it.
Yeah. And we don't have to go any deeper than that. And it's still good to see like how they can change tones. Like it's silly, it's funny, but like when there are violent parts in Beverly Hills Cop, it's serious. Like it gets freaky. Like that shootout with those cartel guys in downtown, that was some serious stuff. So good all around, good for streaming is kind of what we're saying here. And it's kind of what you want to see from films. You want to see films like this on that streaming lane, and that's what's going to keep streaming on like good on streaming, but theatrical good for theatrical. If we can just get studios to understand those two lanes, and that balance. All right. We do a House of the Dragon recap every Monday. Connor Casey's been helping us out with that. Shout out to Connor. So real quick, you guys, I did a whole episode about this because this was a crazy episode, but it was a lot more kind of in-depth conversation about war and politics and, the truth versus the fiction and all that. What did you guys think of this latest House of the Dragon?
I don't even know, like, it's all kind of blending together at this
Yeah,
point,
it's hard for us because we got
but
to do it
it's
before the next episode.
right, but God, I no complaints, like, I love this show so much. I mean, this and The Acolyte are, like, they are everything for me right now. I look forward to them every single week. I cannot wait. It is so hard for me not to watch this, like, on my own before my husband has time to watch it with me. I this show, I like this more than the original Game of Thrones. I've said it, I'm down, like, whatever. There was a big nudity scene that everyone's talking about, which was honestly, like, the first time I felt bad for this character because I can't stand, the group that are hanging out in the main castle right now. I can't stand that family. I am Rhaenyra, team Rhaenyra all the way. But boy, this actually made me feel pity for one of my most hated characters.
Oh, poor
Yeah,
Aemon. I don't
poor
know. I don't know
Aemon.
how to feel about that. I don't know if you're being throwing shade or like genuine emotion right there.
I mean, let's just say these actors are so good at making you detest them or care for them. Like they're so to me this is one of the most well acted shows I've seen in such a long time. And then obviously I've been seeing like lots with Damon and I love Damon, but it's probably because I'm biased because he also the actor Matt Smith played Doctor Who. So that's probably why. Oh, we had a fun haircut. I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on. But I think the bottom line is like this show is just spectacular. And I'm a huge fan. Huge fan.
Yeah, you just like it because you're on team hair.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
what you're doing.
Yeah, I love my hair
Team
green.
hair.
I do. Love the
But
white hair.
yeah, I mean we're having a lot of people who are making South Park memes and quotes come back lately. And so like yeah, both it's funny that both the Acolyte has stirred up a bunch of people to drop some pretty ignorant Star Wars memes about how they think Disney's being run, and this is now making people bring up the Game of Thrones memes about Game of Thrones penchant for male frontal nudity. Yeah, we're getting that all. Look, all I'm going to say to close this out is I love the Rhaenyra Alicent scene. I love that they tried to do this conversation and they figure out like all of this is based on, you know, a mistake.
Mhm.
And I was always wondering if the show would deal with that and
Yeah.
that they did. But they're like, and now the Wire memes, shout out to Black Twitter and Dem Dragons and all the Wire memes you guys are dropping because that is hilarious. Shout out to Slim Charles. If you know, you know. If you
Dragons,
watch Wires and you know Slim Charles, is just to explain to my non-Wire
yeah,
friends.
I wanna see this.
So there's a part in The Wire where in the third season where the main gangster of the show, Idris Elba, Stringer Bell, and his partner Avon are going to war with this new generation of kids who have come up on the street and now want to kill off the old dogs and take over. And it begins to escalate throughout the season. And one of the top lieutenants, they find out like one of the things that happened was somebody killed somebody because they thought they killed somebody else over gang retaliation, but it turns out it was over a girl they both liked, that the guy shot the other guy. And so when they figure this out, they're all like, "Are you kidding me? This is all over a girl. Like people are dying now." And the guy comes over and he says, "This is war, and it doesn't matter. Like once you're in it, you're in it. And if you find out that war started about a lie, you stand on that lie and you go to war over that lie
Wow.
because it doesn't matter. Like,
Dang.
the streets are not going to stop. Like everybody's dropped bodies. Like we're in it now. We got to fight." Because Idris Elba's character is a businessman and he's
Whew.
trying to say like, "Oh, this is all a mistake. We can get out of this and get back to business. We don't need to do this." And the other guy's like, "Yeah, no, we're in it." And so if you see those memes of Slim Charles, that's a great meme right there from The Wire. But that's basically what happens with Alicent and Rhaenyra. They find out, but Alicent looks at her and says, "No, like we're in it now. Like it's too late. These men are all nuts." And that's a great thing about the episode. Like the men are all bloodthirsty. They're all in it. They're in like, we do not have the power to stop this anymore. And it's just now, that's all to say. My end point of all this is talk is over. People are going to start dying. get strapped in. Let's go. All right, so that's House of the Dragon. Be sure you're here Mondays after the show because we do a little Monday morning quarterbacking, and yeah, you can join us for that. And yeah, if Janelle, if you want to get in on that too, we need help with that, so that'll be great. Matt, the rest of the show is yours, buddy. We got to do a little quick touch up on something that got you real excited, and then we got to talk wrestling with our special guests. Take it away.
Yeah. So we talked about Suicide Squad Isekai last week, and something that came up during that discussion was Batman Ninja, which I really dug. And then, oh, lo and behold, Anime Expo hits, and there's a Batman Ninja sequel coming, Batman Ninja versus Yakuza League, which, oh my God, these... Like, as you're seeing in the trailer right now, and if you haven't checked out the trailer, please do for our audio listeners, because my word, like the designs of the league here, like we get looks at, and if you go to the official website, you actually get a better look at all of them. But like Flash, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Aquaman, these designs are killer. And I really dug Batman Ninja. I thought it was just like, the designs kicked in that one too, but like, you know, the more Gotham centric stuff, but like, just the action, everything hits. But like this trailer, beautiful. Oh my gosh, it gets me hyped.
Wow.
I'm so hyped for this. Coming soon. We don't have a release date on it, but like, man, that's gonna rule. That's gonna, if it doesn't, it's gonna supremely disappoint me. So it looks really good. I mean, I didn't know what you guys thought about Batman Ninja to begin with, or if you've seen it, Janelle. Not sure if you've seen it or not.
I'll let Kofi. I think Kofi's ready to...
It's on Max if you guys want to watch it. Yeah, Batman Ninja was one of the more creative kind of, I don't know, is it isekai? Is it considered isekai? Or is it just set in an alternate universe? I don't know. I'm not going to get into the anime of it all. But yeah, no, it was one of the better ones. I love the version of Joker Dragon, all that stuff. It was crazy. So that's what I want out of a mashup of DC and anime, more so than like Suicide Squad. Sorry. We don't need to keep ragging on that. But yeah, I mean, you tell me it's a Yakuza Justice League, I'm in. Okay? Like, you just said all the words I need. So I'm already sold. I don't got to know anything more than that.
Same. Yeah, Janelle?
Yeah, I actually did not even know we were covering this. But now I'm totally going to go watch this because that trailer that we just played for our viewers was stunning. Oh my gosh. So I mean, truly, ever since X-Men 97, I've been more open to animated things in general. That and Harley Quinn on HBO. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to turn this on while I'm momming.
Yeah, this is one I think you could actually watch in front of several people. Yeah, you could have this on.
I like it.
It's got violence, but it's not like, you know, it's not that level.
It's
not
not
boys
the
level
boys
violence. But that's awesome. I just got to say, from where the show started from Janelle going, I don't like animation, and
I know
like X-Men are what? Yes. To where we've come today.
And comics,
amazing.
Yo, you guys got me.
And comics.
I'm a comic book reader. Like, I read more comics than a lot of my friends who are collectors and all that fun stuff per week. So I'm very proud of myself. You guys have changed my life.
All right. And one day, Janelle, I'll get you to watch wrestling.
Oh my God. I did an entire live stream yesterday about wrestling. Like, I got schooled on Bray and like all of like all these intro clips and Alexa Bliss with Bray and like, oh my gosh. Yes. I literally, that's so funny. I covered it last night and I'm probably going to keep getting into it. I love the storyline stuff. So that's what
yes.
Yeah. Who's the one that's Marilyn Monroe? She thinks she's Marilyn Monroe right now.
Oh, Tony Storm. Yes, timeless Tony Storm in AEW.
I saw that. Like, you're going to be so proud of me. You're going to be so proud of me.
Oh my God. I am so happy right now. Well, we're going to, yes. Well, number one, that now has to be a thing. We have to get Janelle in on some wrestling talk here. We are inviting one of our amazing wrestling writers, Haley Miller, to the show, who covers WWE, AEW, and all the fun stuff. And we'll also be, on site covering SummerSlam soon. Hey, coming up here. Haley, what's up? Thanks for joining the show.
Hi, thank you for having me. I always love doing these segments. And, it's a huge wrestling weekend, so I'm so excited to talk about it.
Oh man, yeah, we got a full. So there's actually something on Saturday and Sunday if you're looking for something to watch this weekend. We have NXT Heatwave actually on Sunday, and then WWE Money in the Bank, one of the fan favorite events, coming up on Saturday, which is weird because typically that is like swapped around. So I'm actually not used to the NXT one taking place after. But yeah, so let's start with let's start with Money in the Bank because that actually takes place first. I'll reverse what I had in the layout here because I don't know why I put it that way. So obviously one of the things about Money in the Bank is the briefcases. We're going to have a men's match and a women's match, and then whoever has that briefcase will have the opportunity they'll have a full year to cash that in. And our most recent cash in is Damian Priest, and that took a while, but he is world champ. It's nice to see those actually result in a champion and in a title switch, because we've had so many that end up dying on the ground and don't ever get anywhere and stuff. So it is nice to see those pay off from time to time. So for the men's match, we have LA Knight, Drew McIntyre, Carmelo Hayes, Chad Gable, Jey Uso, and Andrade. And for the women's, we have Io Sky, Bianca Belair, Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, Zoe Stark, and Chelsea Green. Now, we both have some of our favorites in those matches. Let's start with the men's. For you, who do you got, and who do you want to win? And they might be the same person, but...
Well, I'll start with who I want to win, and it's Drew McIntyre. I feel like that's obvious if anybody knows me. I love Drew, and I love the career trajectory that he's on right now. But I do think that Punk is probably going to pull some shenanigans like we saw at Clash at the Castle. So that's my prediction for that. As for who I think is going to win, I'm going to say Jey Uso. I just feel like at some point that man needs to hold a singles belt. And I feel like it may be the World Heavyweight Championship at some point. But I feel like you just can't ignore it anymore, and he needs a belt. So I'm going to go with Jey.
Yeah, and I gotta say, Distance Nerding, thank you for the yeah versus the yeet. That is a shirt in the making. That's gotta be something at some point. I don't know if it happens here, but that's a shirt. Someone's gonna trademark that. Yeah, I think because I'm with you. I would love. Drew has been doing some of the best work of his career.
Yeah.
In this over the past year. It's just from a character standpoint. He's always rules in the ring, but his character stuff and the back and forth with Punk and his continued trolling of Punk wearing the bracelet in the photo. He's doing such good work. I kind of just want to see him rewarded for it, even though it'll probably be taken from him some cruel way, right? But that's the story. That's the point of this whole back and forth, right? And so there's a part of me that wants Drew to win. I think you're right, though. And I think if we're going to continue this to when Punk is clear, which is coming up, probably SummerSlam, right? So he's going to lose some way. He's going to either get in his own way or Punk's going to have something to do with it. He did leave Punk a bloody mess last time on a SmackDown. So he owes him, right? So if we're going with who I think will win, I think it's either LA or Jey. And I think you could make a case for either one. I think LA's been doing some great work with Logan Paul lately, just because LA Knight's great anyway, but I think he's been doing some really good work with him. And I agree with you. I think Jey needs a title because at this point, Jey it's not just a nickname anymore. He is a main event star. Jey is a star. He goes out and gets the crowd going like few others do. So he needs that title would help him solidify that as him and an individual star. So I don't know. And also I think it would be interesting too, to have, actually have a good guy with the case and see how that rolls for a while. And Knight would be the same thing. People would root for Knight because they've been rooting for Knight to have an opportunity like that. So I think it's one of them, but I am rooting for Drew as well. All right, so let's move to the women. Who you got here and who do you think is going to win?
See, I'm stuck between Tiffany and Chelsea. I think you can make a case for either of them. I wouldn't be mad. But I want Chelsea to win so bad just because I feel like it goes with her gimmick so well. And ever since, I don't know who put it out there, who started the whole like butterfly belt or the Divas Championship with Chelsea, but I love that so much. I think that there's so much comedy in that, and her chasing this belt that like doesn't exist anymore. But she's such a big Divas fan too. So I would love to see Chelsea win this.
Yeah, oh, this is hard. There's a couple people in here I would love to see. And I mean, for me, it comes down to those two you named
Yeah.
as so Chelsea Green I love, and I think it would do so much. As much as I just said that it would be great to have a face with the case, almost every other time a heel with the case just works, and it works for so many reasons, and it's just perfect. And with Chelsea doing some of, like, again, having a banner year, like Chelsea is doing so much character work, and that I actually think it overshadows sometimes like how good she is in the ring, because like her character work is so good. But I think giving her the case would like let her kind of be in that main event scene all the time, and you don't have to necessarily alter any story plans for a while until you're ready, because she can hold it for a year, right? So you have some wiggle room, but it just helps her immediately. That said, I do love Tiffy time, and if Tiffany Stratton won the case, I would not be complaining. And I do think we've seen so much reaction to her internationally and everything, which makes me so happy from watching her in NXT and stuff. Like, it's great to see our people, especially like Carmella's also in this mix, right? Amazing to see these NXT stars treated right. But I think there's a part of me that goes, maybe they give it to her and she gets to hold it. Would help her character too. Like, it's the win-win really in either of those respects. And she's also currently in a storyline involving Bianca and Jade and all these things. You can weave it in there. Like, there's a lot of things you can do with both of these. Also, both of them would be on SmackDown.
Yeah.
So I ain't complaining because I cover SmackDown. I'm not complaining
I
at
don't know
all.
how much you love SmackDown, Matt.
It almost made my TV list, but that would have upset people even more. So yes, I do. I'm going to say Chelsea. I'm going to say I'm rooting for Chelsea, but I also think Tiffany will take it. So there you go. I would also love Lyra to take it too. I think it again works better in a heel perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Moving to real quick, we have a 6-man tag featuring like essentially the WWE babyfaces and the Bloodline. But this is the new and improved Bloodline, and we hadn't had a chance to chat yet since old Jacob Fatu came in and wrecked everything. And now we have this Bloodline 2.0. So I wanted to take your temperature. What do you think about how this storyline has progressed since WrestleMania? And when do you think Roman comes back?
I mean, that's the $1 million question, right? So I wasn't super hot on this new version of the Bloodline at first. I just don't know about Solo as the leader, but as it's been kind of building, I think that he's kind of falling into it more. You can definitely see he has more confidence speaking on the mic. So I'm coming around to it, but I was nervous because when all the reports about Jacob kind of surfaced, I was like, oh man, like, if you know who Jacob is, like, he is going to outshine that entire group. Like, he's somebody that you're like, well, he should be the leader. Like, why is Solo leading this group? But I've loved seeing him on TV so far, and I think that they've done well kind of balancing that. But man, I don't know. As for Roman coming back, I feel like it's going to be sooner than later, but I would like to see them prolong it a bit. Just because I feel like when he comes back, he's going to be this major, like, babyface figure, right? And we haven't seen Roman as a babyface in so long. So I'd like to see them kind of drag it out a bit, but I feel like it might happen sooner than later. Maybe SummerSlam? I don't know.
Yeah, that's so I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think they were finding their way after WrestleMania. They needed to figure out, okay, we're obviously have this new group in the wings, but we need to transition from leadership from Roman to Solo without Roman being on TV. That's a challenge.
Hard.
And so when it's all Heyman, It falls on Paul Heyman, right? And so he's done a magnificent job. And while I was shaky, because I'm like, Sikoa was still kind of trying to figure that out, and it wasn't clicking. And I will give him credit over the last 3 weeks. So the week before Jacob debuted, and then the 2 weeks since, Solo feels starting, like he's coming across as he's starting to feel comfortable in the spot. He's exuding confidence. The smirking stuff, the whole, like when Jacob debuts and he's like, he knows all of that stuff I think Jacob has actually helped him immensely.
I feel like he knew, like, I gotta step it up.
Yeah, because like you're gonna get overshadowed if you don't, and I think it's helped him a lot. And so, and credit to Jacob too, like just coming in being an absolute monster, and everyone playing their role. Right now, you have dissension within the group a little bit of like, oh, well, I'm getting outshined by my own teammate. You have all that, the Heyman stuff, perfection. So I think, I know he's fantastic, man. So I just think they've done so much to improve that I think it's clicking now. I think SummerSlam for Roman. I think it's that's the perfect time. Just have him come in at the end. You have some bloodline match, and then that music hits, and that pop is going to be unreal. Yeah, so that's why I think there. Real quick, I want to mention, of course, NXT Heatwave is happening, and I'm obviously a huge fan of NXT, and this is actually a fantastic card. We have some big title matches here. One of the best, one of the biggest ones that's going to be probably end up qualifying for, match of the year consideration is Obafemi versus Wes Lee. That is going to kick. Obafemi is just insane, and Wes Lee is like consistently delivers great performances. I think they're gonna rock it. Roxanne Perez versus Lola Vice is also going to, that one's going to be probably a star making performance if it all goes well for Lola, just because I think she's like right there. And so again, with the underground match against Baszler and all that, she shined in each thing, but this one could really be that one that kind of puts her into that next tier. And also this is, NXT premium live events have been big spots, perfect spots for surprise debuts. There is one that's right on the thing there, and that's Julia. It's right there, and I was a little uneasy because there have been rumors about injuries and things, maybe keeping that out. However, she's also in another event, and that's happening, and that match is good. So I'm like, okay, cool. So that means we're in the mix here. So we possibly get a Julia debut. Again, not in the ring, but a appearance of, hey, I'm ready to challenge someone. Do you think Julia makes that debut here? And also, what do you think currently, like which of, I guess there's a bunch of rising stars in the women's division in NXT, as well as the men's. Is there one in particular though, that you've kind of come around to or are interested in or following?
Ooh, so as for Julia, I do think that there's going to be some kind of appearance here. That's been reported many times, and like you said, she did get unfortunately injured, but yeah, she is on that show. So I feel like there's a high chance that we will see Julia on this show. And as for the NXT women's division, definitely, because I'm not like the biggest NXT watcher, like I keep up with it, but the women's division is something that I consistently follow, just because I love so many of them, and I love kind of what they're doing, building so many of these young stars. I love Kalani. I'm so happy that she's a champion now. I've loved seeing her come into her own. I think Lola is great as well. I'm excited to see the match against Roxanne. And like you said, I think it'll be like a star-making performance for her. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's also, Trick Willie has a title defense, a fatal 4-way. The Trick era ain't ending, right? It's staying around.
I think it's always interesting when there's a fatal 4-way situation, because a lot of times you're like, well, obviously someone else is going to take the title, right? And then the champ doesn't have to get pinned, and then, they can run that story back, and it's like a whole thing. So, like, I wouldn't be surprised if that happens here, especially because they're so high on Ethan right now, especially Shawn Michaels. Like, he speaks so highly of Ethan, and Shawn Spears as well. But I would love to see Trick retain. I am not ready to see the era of Trick die.
I'm with you. I think Trick is sitting in the driver's seat when this hits CW. So I don't think he's leaving until then. He was made for that era. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for jumping on this. Of course, you can check out all of our coverage. We will have up-to-date stories on both events and everything that happens in between on comicbook.com. Thank you so much, Haley, for jumping in on this. And Kofi, you want to take us away?
Absolutely. Thank you, Haley. Thank you, Janelle. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, America. Happy birthday. This is Comic Book Nation, where we do it all for geek culture and the official podcast of comicbook.com. Please subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platforms. We're on Spotify, iHeartMedia, Apple, all the major platforms where you guys have done very well to give us a lovely ratings and comments and reviews, and we appreciate all of that. Also, check out our YouTube page, Comic Book Nation on YouTube, and the main comic book page on YouTube, where we also drop a bunch of awesome auxiliary content, interviews, features, breakdowns, all this stuff from all of our content. And as I said, we are an entire nation of podcasts. This is our live show where we talk all things geek culture at the end of the week, but we also, going backwards, have Quick Save, our gaming segment with Matt and the gaming team doing their thing. We have the pull list where Matt tells you guys what comics and comic storylines you need to be in on every week. We have Anime Initiative, where our top-notch anime crew breaks down the anime culture every week. We are doing bonus episodes for Acolyte, and with Acolyte Aftermath, we've just booked a new all-star host, Janelle Wheeler, for the next episode. Yeah, things are happening during the live show. So we booked Janelle as the host of the next Acolyte Aftermath show, which will be the big flashback episode. So Janelle's going to be stepping in for that one. Connor Casey will be doing our House of the Dragon recap. So check that out, because we're going to continue playing Monday Morning Quarterback on season 2. And if you're an MCU fan, it's almost Deadpool Wolverine time. So be sure to subscribe to the Phase Zero feed as well. And Pokemon fans, if you're not getting together on the Pokemon, A Wild Pokemon Has Appeared feed, you guys definitely need to be. That's it for me. We're getting out of here. Everybody have a great weekend. We are Comic Book Nation. Go check out some great geek content and tell us all about it. Peace.
Bye, everybody.